We all do mistakes, and mistakes are awful, to be honest, but they are always an opportunity to learn more. And as creatives, we all have experienced the frustration of making mistakes in our creative projects. And it can be a little disheartening when we feel like all the time and effort we put into a project has just been wasted. But today we're going to explore how these mistakes can actually be turned into something positive. We'll cover a few ways how you can actually embrace your mistakes, learn from them, and maybe even turn them into sparks for new ideas. First and foremost, it is important to say that we as creatives need to adopt a positive mindset. And instead of just seeing mistakes as failures, we need to see them as opportunities to actually learn and grow from them. And I know this is easier said than done because we creatives tend to be perfectionists and we have really high expectations of our own work. But it is important that we reframe our mindset and see mistakes actually as just part of the creative process rather than something to be avoided at all costs. One approach to embrace mistakes and use them as opportunities is just to embrace them in our creative work. And a really, really good example of this is actually Bob Ross, who has not only
happy little cloud, happy little mountain, happy tree.
He also has happy little accidents. And he is a really good example on how we should embrace mistakes and just turn them into something which is part of our actual creative process. In addition to embrace our mistakes, it is really important that we actually learn something from our mistakes as well. If you made a mistake, just take a step back and analyze what went wrong. This can be quite a difficult process, especially if you're feeling disappointed in yourself, in your work, and you're just overall frustrated by the actual mistakes you have done. But by taking the opportunity to actually see what you have done wrong, you can learn from it, and in the future, when you stumble across something similar, you won't do the same mistake twice. One approach to this is to keep a sketchbook or a journal with you at all times and just write down your mistakes and analyze them. And this can actually help you to just track over time what you have done wrong, what you have done right, and how you improved overall. Another way of learning from your opportunities is to seek feedback from other people. And this can be especially scary because you don't want to be blamed doing something wrong, you don't want to embarrass yourself for doing something wrong, and we all have the tendency that we don't want to speak openly about our failures and mistakes. But by getting an outside perspective, you may be able to identify mistakes or areas of improvement which you wouldn't have noticed on your own. And this can be a really valuable way to improve as a creative and improve your work overall. Another way of turning mistakes into opportunities is to use them as inspiration to spark creativity and try out new things. And what I mean by this is if we are forced to think outside the box and fix a mistake which we have done beforehand or somebody else did, we often stumble upon a new technique or a new creative way to solve the mistake, and therefore we get a new skill which we wouldn't have acquired otherwise. So, for example, if you took a picture or you found a picture on your favorite stock image site and the picture is nearly perfect, it has beautiful model, the scenery is great, the lighting is fantastic, and the overall composition is just a perfect picture. But unfortunately, you need a smiling model instead of a neutral model. And you didn't take another shot, or you don't find any other shots on your favorite stock site, but you really need this. So what can you do? You can jump into Photoshop. You can open up the neural filters, and with this feature in Photoshop, you can adjust the facial expression of your model. And even though the neural filter might not be the ideal solution for this problem, the basic concept still applies. Finally, let's talk about how mistakes can be opportunities to just take risks. When you are too afraid of making mistakes, you tend to stick to familiar techniques or approaches and therefore just limit your creativity overall. However, when you are not afraid of taking risks, you can embrace the possibility of making mistakes and just see where it takes you. This can lead to breakthroughs, new ideas, or new discoveries, which you just wouldn't have found out otherwise. So taking risks can actually help you to just push you out of your creative comfort zone. But it is important to just be mindful with taking risks, because we don't want to take risks just for the sake of it, but rather we want to just see what the goal is and what the potential outcome can be, because we don't want to stumble across a risk which we rather wouldn't have taken. So for example, if we take branding presentations, we often have a logo which is rather boring because it is exactly what the client wants, or at least the client thinks he wants. And this boring logo doesn't help you to become a better creative, and it doesn't help the company to just get a good branding. So therefore we take the freedom to just create a new version, a highly risk version if you want to, which is not what the client wants and not what the client expected, and far bolder and unconventional that he might even like. But by taking this chance, by taking the opportunity to present this and to create it, we have the chance to grow as creators, and we have the chance to just push the client's business and give the best rebranding it could have. And taking risks can also help you to just be confident in your abilities as a creative. When you're willing to try out new things and take chances, you are starting to trust your instincts and therefore just be more comfortable in making decisions. In conclusion, while mistakes can be really scary, they can also be opportunities to take risks and try new things and just develop your skill set and become a better creative. So don't be afraid to just step out of your comfort zone and just see where the creativity takes you. The more you actually embrace the possibility of making mistakes, the more you will be able to grow and develop as a creative. If you enjoyed the video, you might enjoy my other video, How to Be More Creative as well, where I talk about different techniques how you can boost your imagination. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.